On Sunday, live coverage of Raising the Rose, the reconstruction of Henry VIII's favourite vessel, the Mary Rose, will enable archaeologists to piece together an important period in maritime history. The BBC will have camera positions inside the Mary Rose and on the immense crane, the Tog Moor, to cover the lifting of the hull when Tudor England comes to the surface. Chronicle has been reporting on the work of the Mary Rose Trust since its beginning, and tomorrow evening there'll be 2 programmes bringing viewers up to date on the excavation. Chronicles the wreck of the Mary Rose at 5 o'clock and 9:55 on Saturday, and starting on Sunday morning, live coverage of Raising the Rose beginning at 9:20 with highlights of the day's events at 9:30, all on BBC Two. Well, now on 2, we begin an hour of comment.
Good morning and welcome to BBC Two. As you may already know, the raising of the Mary Rose was due to start this morning, but there has been a delay to it. But we now go over live to Portsmouth.
Good morning to you from the site of the Mary Rose. At this moment, His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, is aboard the Mary Rose Trust salvage vessel Sleipner. He's talking to divers and members of the salvage team here. They've been working for days to bring the Mary Rose to the surface. This was the appointed day, but I'm sorry to have to say there is a technical hitch. There are problems, a major setback, some are calling it, because it's not possible this morning, certainly, to attempt the lift. It may possibly go ahead later today, but there is talk that that delay will be perhaps a day or 2, possibly up to a week. Now, the Prince of Wales, in common with the rest of us, is disappointed at the news, but he is finding out for himself what the problems are. He's an experienced diver himself, of course, and he'll be taking in what he's being told and making up his own assessment of what's going on. He's with Sir Eric Drake, who's the chairman of the Mary Rose Trust, and King Constantine is with him. He too, along with Prince Charles, has dived on the site of the Mary Rose. They know at first hand what this wreck is, and of course it's a project they've both been closely associated with. Talking now with Margaret Rule. She's the director of the excavation here. Now, she's had no sleep at all during the night. The setback here is a technical one. The docking of the lifting frame with the cradle didn't go as planned, and it's been her decision to have an underwater investigation and assessment before deciding what the next plan is. Now, I think the Prince of Wales, there he is, he's in good spirits, and I think he's done a lot today so far. This has been the most exciting part of the day. He's done a lot to bring spirits up, because they've certainly been dampened. There he's going aboard the Royal Barge, which is the barge which is used by the Port Admiral here in Portsmouth. He's been aboard Tog Moor, the lifting barge. Now going, there is King Constantine, and Lord Romsey is in the party. There's Lord Romsey also going into the Royal Barge. They've completed their visit. I fancy the Prince is so keen on this project, and so keen that it should be successful, of course, that he may well return here to see how things are going. But he's been brought up to date entirely with the position, and he'll know that they will not attempt any recovery operation which would be to the detriment of the Mary Rose herself. So the news is that all is well with the Mary Rose. The hull is in no danger at all. The safety of the hull is absolutely paramount. That is the message here from the Mary Rose Trust, but I'm afraid there is this technical setback, and the lifting operation has not gone ahead as planned. Now, around me there are thousands, I think thousands of people on hundreds of boats. They've been here since the early hours. The lights this morning at 4 o'clock when we came aboard Tog Moor were really impressive. It is so sad, because the conditions here, the weather conditions, are absolutely perfect for the lift that should have begun at 7:30. And I'm afraid these good people here are not going to see the lift they had hoped this morning. Now, the Prince of Wales came aboard off Southsea.
this Open University transmission. This is BBC Two. We return now to Bruce Parker for a progress report on the raising of the Mary Rose.
Hundreds of small crafts with thousands of people aboard all wait for the moment when the Tudor warship Mary Rose is lifted off the seabed here. They've all been here since dawn, but I'm afraid they're going to have to wait for several hours yet, possibly until tomorrow, for their first glimpse of the ship, which has been on the seabed for 437 years. Because there has been a setback. The lift was scheduled to take place at 7:30 this morning, but things didn't go as planned. The Prince of Wales has been here. He's been taking a close look at things. He's been in on the meetings that have been going on. He is going to go diving on the hull this afternoon himself. But the latest news is that the Mary Rose will be lifted within the next 24 hours. Possibly not in the daylight hours of today, possibly during the darkness of tonight, most likely early tomorrow morning. Now, the setback was this: the cradling, the putting of the Mary Rose wreck and the frame into the cradle was going almost as it should have done, but for one of these four legs, they were supposed to go, all of them, into these cups, but this one here did, in effect, that. It was bent and has gone outside. Now, what the salvage teams have had to do is to decide on, and that's exactly what's going to happen. The leg is going to come off. They're going to take it off with oxyacetylene lamps, and then the raising will take place. So that is the news here. Work is going on all the time to make sure this happens as soon as possible, and there are tides, of course, when this is best done. Now, it's been a morning of anxious waiting. There was talk, of course, at one stage, if you were with us earlier, of possibly a week's delay. Then, an hour ago, Margaret Rule, the Director of Operations, came out of her control headquarters on board Sleipner, and she was really rather optimistic about what was going to happen over the next 24 hours.
I'm so happy that the Mary Rose is now in the cradle, that she's done this very difficult transfer from the seabed, supported from the underwater lifting frame, and she's in the cradle.
How big a distance?
We have been inspecting the hull this morning, and the Mary Rose looks great. Now we have to solve, as the Oak says, the technical problem of lifting the cradle to the surface, and this is a technical engineering problem. I'm delighted that the Mary Rose has docked and is lying in that support cradle ready for us to recover. We must get her out very quickly. Obviously, she can't lay here through spring tides and storms. So it's all systems go now to solve this technical problem and recover the Mary Rose.
Over the past 12 hours, you must have had some awful moments.
Quite dreadful moments, quite awful. And it's not just 12 hours, it's many days. But we've fought wind and weather, and now we've got a technical problem, which the experts are dealing with, and they will solve it for us. We like what we've got done there. We will recover it soon.
How big a disappointment was it today?
Well, it's not a disappointment for us because we're just doing a job of work. Ultimately, we'll finish that task. It's a disappointment for all these people out here, these lovely people who've come to see her come up, and my heart aches for them. But that's another thing. What matters is getting the Mary Rose ashore. That we can't do it in this wonderful arena is sad, but it's not really vital to the operation.
Have they decided yet how they're going to deal with the buckled leg?
Yes, we have a solution, but I'd rather not comment on that. I'd rather leave it to the engineers, but there is a solution. I'm confident it will work, and I'm confident the Mary Rose will survive the solution.
Well, what about your president, the Prince of Wales? I gather he's been taking a real part in the meetings that have been going on this morning.
Oh, indeed. He has
been
led the
advising
meetings.
in every possible aspect, and he's been so helpful and practical that we are, as ever, very grateful to him.
What sort of advice has he been giving you then?
Well, I wouldn't say it was...
Our little ferry is packed with people watching for this historic moment. The Royal Navy is here too. There are helicopters circling above us. The winches have stopped moving now. I imagine some little fine adjustments are being made by the master of Togmore in his cabin. Prince is very much with the action there. There is a diver you can see just near Togmore who's surfaced. Peter Chitty, what's the diver been doing?
He's been down there checking the slings are exactly round the cradle where they ought to be, and they're riding. They've got little formwork to be in, and he was checking that they're actually within the formwork, so that there's no undue kink or strain on the lifting cables.
He's given the all clear there, has he?
He's given the all clear. He's just come up with his thumbs. He's checked all four to say they're okay. Now we've got to insert the pumps, and down on the left forefront of the picture, you'll see a combat support boat of ours sitting there. They're just about to lower the pumps in and take them out over onto the top of the cradle, lower them through the cradle. They're in fact in the middle of the centre picture is the combat support boat. Top right, where the man is getting down in, there is the heister winch ready to lower the pumps in. The pumps are the yellow objects in the immediate foreground, that's fine. And there is the heister cradle ready to launch in.
Those will be placed over this frame now.
That's right, they'll be placed through the frame, they'll be taken out. One is now being moved out, complete with its tube, exhaust tube. That is now being lowered into the combat support boat. It will then be taken out over the top of the cradle. The combat support boat, being twin jet, has no obstructions or propellers underneath. It's ideal for this task. They'll be then lowered through the cradle to the selected positions, and once they're ready, checked, and probably, I think, tied down by the Mary Rose Trust divers, who are now at this time coming off Sleipner. When it's in position, then we can start lifting.
I see, so we've got a few moments yet.
Yes, we have indeed, yes. Things are now speeded up again. Lead time back 1¼ hours. What you gain on the swings, you lose on the old roundabouts, but we're gaining again.
Well, we'll just stay with it for the moment and watch as this operation progresses.
Helicopter now so close overhead that I can hardly hear myself speak. Margaret also finding it difficult to communicate with her divers and through the radio under these circumstances. Very inconsiderate helicopter, that. This is the ship that the Venetians failed to raise in 1545. Peter de Andreas and Simon de Marine, Venetians, 40 marks in regard to their pains about the weighing of the Mary Rose. One for the family album. The last man to see the Mary Rose with his own eyes, before the divers got to it, was called Sir William Monson, an admiral in Tudor times. In 1569 he wrote, "The Mary Rose next to the Regent in bigness and goodness, after this was cast away betwixt Portsmouth and the Isle of Wight. Part of the ribs of this ship I have seen with my own eyes." One of the Royal Engineers boats moving into position above the lifting frame. They have the advantage, they have no propellers, they're jet propelled, those boats. It was one of these boats that capsized a few days ago in a very, very rough sea.
What exactly are they doing now?
Well, in the combat support boat, you will see they are going over the cradle now. The two pumps are in there. The yellow objects are the pumps, and you can see the hose, which is coiled up ready. They will shortly lower them down by hand line, I think, through the centre of the cradle to be accepted at the bottom there by the Mary Rose Trust divers, who I hope are waiting there anxiously for them.
These are combat boats which were used very much in the Falklands.
Oh yes, the combat support boats, we had 5 of them out there, as I know of, and they were used extensively, particularly San Carlos Sound, shipped to shore. And of course the divers, our divers operated from them. We had 53 divers, the Royal Engineers and the Special Air Service and other people out there. And in fact, at the moment on this task, I have what we call 8 ex-Falklanders. 5 of them are...
If we look at that corner from above, we can see a lot of mud, can't we? That's just there, onto the right of the frame there. That is mud.
That is mud and some of the rust, which is now coming out of the tubes. They're rusty inside. Each time we've raised it clear, you see this pattern of rust come out. Not much. As you also in the picture in the bottom right-hand corner, the diver is still going round debunging as hard as he can. A full-time job, I think.
We mustn't be too derogatory about this Solent mud. It's Solent silt, and it's that silt which has protected this wreck for 437 years.
Indeed, yes. It's one of the miracles, I think, the way this thing has preserved for so long, caught between the silt and the clay. It's been out of this world. There you can see, in fact, right across the centre of the picture, which looks like a sort of a form of zebra crossing, black and white. There is a Mary Rose Trust diver coming out. His umbilical, which connects him, gives him his air, is connected straight to Sleipner. Don't be fooled by the fact that he's got a cylinder on his back. That cylinder, in fact, is what the Americans refer to a get-you-home bottle or a bailout system. That is, in fact, more prosaically, we would call a reserve cylinder. If something goes wrong, he can switch onto that, and then he's got whatever it is, half an hour to play with to get back to safety.
He's got to move away from that frame before it comes any further up.
That's right, otherwise he'll be rather strung up, hanging, you know, like a man from a noose. Yes. In fact, he's going over across at high speed now. I just hope that's right, he's seen what might happen, which is his umbilical might get trapped on those centre housings. So he's lifted his umbilical over the housing.
Well, he's got a colleague, we can just see the colleague
there. So he's going out to help him come back, and he's taking his air hose with him to ensure that he's utterly safe. Yes, and it must be a very proud moment for everyone in Mary Rose Trust, in particular all the people like the chairman, Sir Eric Drake, who's with us at the moment, watching intently. This has been a lifetime experience for him, I'm sure.
I have been joined here by Sir Eric Drake. Now, Sir Eric, we'll stay on this picture here. We have a historic moment in the making. What are your thoughts as this is just about to happen?
Colonel Chitty said just now it was a lifetime experience for me, and in a way it is, except the last time I had such an experience was the tilting of the first rig in the North Sea. That was even more expensive than this. It was a matter of 50 to 100 million pounds worth, this is better now. Perhaps I'm more directly involved here than I was that last time, but it's a very exciting moment altogether, and I'm as on edge as everybody else is standing all round me.
It's more the moment than the money, though, isn't it?
Well, I suppose I'm certainly not thinking about money at the moment. I'm thinking of getting the Mary Rose up.
And yes, the frame is coming up slowly.
I think we can just see a little bit of Mary Rose. That's Armchair.
That is there's the water coming out of the frame now. That's
right. It's under pressure. It's under pressure from as the far, that is the east side, is lifted up. Obviously, the water is now spouting out. It looks really rough. Yes, it's impressive. That's all I'll describe it as.
Why don't you put the hole in the bottom instead of the top?
You're right on that one. Yes, the holes could have been there, but it does. It looks rather like the fountains of Versailles or something. You're just the first.
There we are. There is the wreck of the Mary Rose. It has come to the surface. There is the first sight of this flagship of Henry VIII. It's the first time we have seen this in 437 years. What an amazing sight. She has come to the surface. And are you going to hold her there, Peter Chitty?
I think they'll probably hold her a little bit further up when in fact they reach the stage where the whole of the hull is clear, so that it's water holding. This is a wonderful moment. You hear all the sirens ringing, and I should think probably the Navy will get in on the act. It has.
The gun has gone off at Southsea. This historic moment as the Mary Rose comes to the surface. She's been on the seabed for 437 years. She is seeing air and daylight for the first time since that day on July the 19th, when she sank to the bottom with a loss of all hands.
I think there's one person who isn't present today to watch it, but I'm sure he's watching it on his monitor. He is the man who actually found this thing, who was the driving force in this, Alexander McKee, and I think he, from his home in Hayling Island, must be very proud of what he has started off and what he has managed to achieve. It's all his work right in the early stages, and of course, again, we worked with him in the sort of 69 period.
And the ship's sounding off their whistles and their sirens. There's cheering and waving and clapping. This is the moment they've all been waiting for, and there is the top of the Mary Rose, Henry VIII's flagship. What's the mood on Sleipner, John Gilbert?
Well, I think everybody here is jubilant to see the wreck above the surface, and very conscious that this is a critical moment for the hull of this ship, the ship that was the flower, I trow, of all the ships that ever sailed. That's how she was described by Sir Edward Howard, the Lord High Admiral, a few years after she was commissioned. She was rated at 600 tons, and he said that she could go about faster than any ship of 100 tons. She was a good sailor. She was a ship that worked in battle in 1513 at Brest. Edward Howard himself lost his life when he led the expedition from her a few years later. Margaret, how do you feel?
Tense, but it's happening, isn't it? It really is happening. It's a mixed feeling.
What are the problems?
This is a problem when we see what the real weight is. We've got now 179 tons, and there's more to come. So this is a moment of truth when we see all the calculations are right. It's calmed down beautifully. That's a help. It was a bit choppy half an hour back, so things are going well. We've got a split air hose. This always happens. That's got to be repaired. But as you can see, it's happening. We've got a lot of friends out there.
After 17 years on the site, Margaret Rule sees the culmination of her ambitions. And you can see in that shot the stern castle, braking surface, these ships of Henry VIII's time were built with great castles at the bow and stern. The bow castle has been lost. Perhaps it was that the Royal Engineers blew up when they were looking for the Royal George in about 1839. But traces of the stern castle remain, and one of the things that the lifting of the Mary Rose will establish was how this ship was built. Whether she was originally built as a clinker ship or as a carvel ship, these things matter to historians because nobody knows about Tudor ship design and shipbuilding. A terrific moment and a terrific sight. Looking out from dive control now, you can see the frame very clearly above the water. The crane is giving a readout of the weight at all stages. It is, of course, a critical consideration. But the structural engineers have been working on this for many months. And we all just hope and pray that they have their calculations right.
Well, I've been joined here with this bird's eye view of the Mary Rose by the man who discovered it, Alexander McKee. Alex, what are your thoughts as you see the Mary Rose for the first time in the open air?
Well, yesterday I was worried and then worried sick, and today, of course, it's the most wonderful triumph coming as a climax to what one thought could possibly have been a disaster. Dramatically, it's absolutely tremendous. And I mean, I'd like to thank everyone, including yourself, because you were one of the early journalists on television who actually thought us worth interviewing. And when everyone else thought we were mad, and I thought you...
Moments like this, you can savour a moment like this forever, I think.
And some of the happiest people, I think, are visible, waiting, watching this thing, are in fact some of Alexander McKee's first divers. There's a group of them on board a boat, I believe there are about 5 or 6, and they were the real pioneers at the start. Sorry, I need another cup. Anyway, they were the real pioneers who at the very start did all the hard graft when life was primitive. I mean, we've got the luxury of Togmore and hydraulic lifts and everything like that, but he was to what we call in the trade bare-ass diving.
Now Alexander McKee is still with me. Now you can see that the hull coming out like this. This is what you have really dreamed of, isn't it?
Well, it is, because over there we've got part of the starboard stern casting. You see the eroded timbers over there, more or less in the centre. That's part of the stern castle, the officer's accommodation, very high up the hull. And at that point, when she's been restored and is uprighted, and if you stood under her, you'd have 40 feet of the Mary Rose towering above you. It'll be a tremendous sight in a few years' time when all the conservation work has been done.
When there's been some rebuilding and so on.
Yes, put together again, and the decks put back and so on. We've removed a lot of the deck beams and the deck planking. You're just seeing the bare shell of the starboard side and the keel at the moment.
Now, does it look like it felt?
You mean imagining this moment?
Well, I mean, you felt your way along that wreck underwater. Does it look as it felt to you?
Oh, yes. I mean, sometimes you get very bad visibility down to nil. I've been on the Mary Rose side and can't see anything at all, just lying on the bottom and you see nothing, not even your hand. But on other occasions, we've had 20 and 25 feet visibility, particularly last year. I was swimming along the gun deck, and there were the guns in position, the ammunition, the gun gear, and the dead crews.
Good, thank you, Alex. Now let's go to Sleipner and to Margaret Rule. Margaret?
It's fine. We've still got, of course, to get on the barge. It's not yet over, but we're on the way. Look at those wonderful deck
How do you
beams.
feel? How do you feel?
Oh, it's still very mixed, John. It's still very mixed.
Mixed why?
Well, she was ours when she was down there. Now she belongs to everybody. But look at those deck beams. I mean, that's a damn strong ship, isn't it? It's a hell of a ship. When you think of everything she's gone through, not only during the excavation, all those years of excavation, but now the recovery, and still those deck beams haven't collapsed. It's totally remarkable. It's a wonderful structure.
It's a wonderful structure and a wonderful site.
And now we've got, of course, to put all the decking back and all the cabins and all the compartments. I think it's about 7,000 timbers we've dismantled That's now got to go back inside the ship so that people can see what she was like when we first discovered her. It's going to be fun, isn't it?
It's become a lifetime's work, hasn't it, Margaret?
Oh, absolutely. It's a big chunk of her life. I mean, I've done two, or been involved with, two big excavations, and that's most people a lifetime. Not much time left, I guess.
Handpicked crew, I'd sell that anywhere.
It is still slowly coming up, I think.
Oh yes, you can see perceptible rises coming up there. In fact, we're concentrating on the inside of the hull at the moment, where you can see that some of the pumping is taking place. And now the whole of that's right, the Prince is now, as you see, got Margaret.
Yes, Margaret Raw's on board now.
Yes.
And I think yes, there we are, pulling away from Sleipner. Margaret has been on board Sleipner conducting her side of the operations, of course, all morning. No sleep last night, I gather. A worried lady all day yesterday, but now this must be the moment of her triumph, and she'd be very, very proud indeed to conduct His Royal Highness over to this exposed hull. And that's what they're going to be looking at and stepping on. I must say, I'd enjoyed the chance to be able to do that, but there we are, we won't be able to do it, will we?
No, alas, I've only got two combat support boats, and Colonel Wendell Lewis has got the other one, which is just out of picture at the moment, but he's got the other one, and they're checking with the Mary Rose Trust and doing one or two minor last-minute improvements to the strengthening of the hull. These wires, as they gradually come out of the hull, some take a little bit more strain than others, and of course you've got to continually monitor them. The easiest way is actually to twang them rather like a bowstring. As long as the same person twangs them, then you get the same strain on each.
She is going to be moored, of course, isn't she? I say moored, dry docked indeed, next door to HMS Victory. What's her comparable size?
I should think, I'm not a Victory expert actually on this, but I would have thought that she's the equivalent of about a third to a half, probably about a half, yes, nearer the half I would have thought. This one is roughly 36 metres overall that we've got here. I suppose converted roughly into English at 100 something feet, 110 feet roughly. I'm just interested to see where in fact she's going to, HRH is going to arrive. I think one of our combat support boats will have to pull out to make room for her. But this is really rather an epic day actually as far as we're concerned.
Yes.
Although on board the crew it's not just solely Royal Engineers, we have in fact our only Army Physical Training Corps sergeant instructor. So everybody in the Army is therefore represented.
Now how exactly is he going to board her then?
I would think that he's probably having a look at her now with the bows, which of course is interesting to see how the bows actually splayed out. They eroded away early on and sprung, and once it was sprung the Brits obviously floated off or drove off, and I think he'll then pass down the starboard side towards the stern. Now that the other combat support boat has moved away, there's position for him to come right up and actually touch it and get on it.
And you're absolutely sure he's going to get on, is he?
Well, I did ask actually if the Royal Wellies were present, but he said it didn't matter a damn, he would get on.
He's going to get his feet wet, is he?
Yes, indeed. Well, there's enough sufficiently dry now. It'll be interesting to see whether, when again a potential king of England sets foot on a boat that was last set on foot by Henry VIII.
By Henry VIII, yes, indeed.
At the dinner party before the battle. They seemed very conscious of dinner parties before battles in those days, because in fact in the French fleet, just before they sailed across, King Francis, French king, went on board a dinner of the French flagship, and after he'd left, the cooks were so obviously overjoyed the fact that he hadn't found any fault with the food, they let the fire hit the superstructure and burnt the flagship up, and so that was the first flagship lost that day.
There is a theory that they concentrated so much on good food at the expense of seamanship that's one of the reasons why she sank.
Well, I think so too. In fact, we know, of course, what the crew were going to have had for lunch on the day that the Mary Rose sank. It was fish and mushy peas, They found the bowl of peas right alongside in the galley, and all the fish neatly filleted down the side.
It's the mead they drank, I think.
Yes, I think mead, yes. Mead is a bit sort of pre-Elizabethan, but it certainly had a good alcohol content in it, I think.
So now they're taking a good look at the side of the Mary Rose.
Yes, indeed, and it's... I'm literally torn between taking photographs and making comments, actually.
Well, go on,
but I'll have a quick
you
flip.
take your snaps, go on.
We don't often see someone of the calibre of Prince Charles and King Constantine on board a military combat support boat. Big sitting lad. I take 5%.
I think you're more proud of your little boat than this Mary Rose.
Well, they're great little boats, and bluntly they are. They're absolutely fabulous. All Day Marine made them to our specifications, and they're in use in the Falklands at the moment. But no other, if without these boats, the Mary Rose Trust would have been, the project would have been in slight difficulty, because they can get into areas that others cannot reach, I think the beer advertisement is.
There's Margaret Rule pointing out to the Prince of Wales various points of interest on the stern.
Bruce, could I say somebody?
So he's making a complete tour of inspection.
Yes, indeed, and in addition to his inspection, obviously King Constantine, who's taken a tremendous interest in the project, and also on board is in a blue anorak with a hood.
It's Lord Romsey.
Is Lord Romsey, who of course was Lord Louis Mountbatten's, is Lord Louis Mountbatten's grandson, and it was Lord Louis who really first interested Prince Charles in this project. Lord Louis was a tremendous pro-Mary Rose man, and I think they had that tremendous rapport between the two, and Prince Charles took it up.
Meanwhile, your airbags are
Popping.
popping, steadily being inflated too.
Snap, crackle and pop. The ones that aren't taking any pressure, that is, aren't actually attached to the hull, are in fact, there's one in the picture now. It's clear of the hull, so it's no loss. But the strain of the buoyancy is too much on the tied down rope, and we expected these ones to come off. And there we are, case in point. I hope that when they salvage it, that it finds its way back to my unit's store.
One doesn't want to be in the realm of famous last words, but this is totally safe now, this hull.
Totally as totally can be. As I say, I won't be court-martialed if once it's safely on the deck of the raft. That's when I'll feel really confident. In fact, I'll probably just collapse in a heap after it.
This huge lifting crane, Togmore, just holding this
oh yes,
400
it can
or
hold
so
it.
tons.
This is just a little mouthful for this vessel. There's no problem there. It's just that safe to me is total, which is well, I can see I'm going to charge that diver for having cut that one adrift, but not to worry. One of our vessels will pick it up.
Now, is this the point? I think, is that
Colonel Wendell Lewis should be on the other combat support
yes,
boat. They're both together now.
He's the salvage director of the Mary Rose Trust.
Yes, he is the salvage director.
And he's joining the boat on which...
That's right, he's in the yellow oily trousers and the rather bald patch on the top. There's obviously an in-house consultation taking place adrift on the Solent. I think King Constantine was giving some fairly forceful suggestions that it ought to be lifted, but there we are.
Yes, I see, of course, the crowds of yachts and people aboard the yachts has now assembled around the site here, all getting a very, very good view of the Mary Rose as she lies here in this cradle, hung from the great hook of Togmore.
so nice, in fact, to have them after yesterday's rather bitter disappointment. It's jolly nice to see so many have come out to see the actual raising, and that the weather has turned dry, or relatively, after what we've been suffering up here exposed. But it's fairly dry, and yes, there's a goodly throng out there.
The Royal Navy too?
The Royal Navy too, yes, it did sound off its gun, of course, at the right moment, just as she broke surface.
Oh, is that Bronington? I think it is.
I think it could be.
Prince
I
Charles's
haven't
old
actually
ship.
got my glasses. I'll check up on that one.
May well be Prince Charles's old command. Well, now Prince Charles's launch is coming around the stern of the Mary Rose again. Do you think he's decided not to get his feet wet?
I think yes, possibly. I thought he might have made the great step for mankind. I think they said when they went on the moon. He's coming back and will be coming up the steps, and I think we will try. I think people want to get him. It'd be very nice to see him photographed symbolically against the Mary Rose from up here. It's a perfect place.
That's right.
With your camera.
Well, we hope Prince Charles may join us a little bit later on. We'll just see. I think. Well, Peter, I think he's decided not to go aboard the Mary Rose, so that little moment of history is denied us. For the moment.
It's a shame. However, he's been round it, he's satisfied himself, it's sound, and that's the most important thing. I see the next programme is Let's Go. I think at the moment I'd like to see it's Let's Lift or something at the moment, but that'll come shortly.
Well, the Royal launch has come alongside Tog Moor now, which is just a few metres away from the Mary Rose. I think there is some consultation going on, so possibly His Royal Highness will decide to go aboard.
Going out again.
Yes, well, there. I had a wave just now from Margaret Rule. She's clearly delighted with everything. I think. Well, they're going out again, so perhaps they are going to go aboard.
Sorry.
Most of your divers and the Mary Rose divers have come out of the hull now. Their job is over there, is it?
I think they've, yes, and I would have thought that was the last thing they probably prior to move. In fact, they're all getting off the cradle. One of them has left his fins behind, and so we'll have to do something about that. We should. Yes, it is quite possible they will be lifting.
Well, those fins there, yes, that's...
Yes,
whose
remarkable.
fins are those then?
Well, in fact, they're Royal Engineer fins, and of course they're on my charge, but so I'm naturally hoping to see them recovered. But I must admit, the designer did a jolly good job by putting those just where we needed them, those holes.
That does give us a very good idea of how that docking procedure went. So those legs went into what I call the saucer.
That's right, yes. It's like a funnel. Literally is like the funnel that you pour fluid into a jar or something, into the neck of a bottle. And the leg had to go right down inside the stem of that funnel. And that's what caused all the problem the other night.
And I wonder what Prince Charles is thinking about as he approaches the Mary Rose, because it does look as though he is going to try to step aboard.
Yes, I think he is, and I just wish, I really wish he would, you know. I'll will him hard, I think. Because it's such a historic step to take.
The Mary Rose divers and your own divers look passing by in their launch.
So, second thoughts.
Second thoughts not to, you think?
Second thoughts. It seems to be disappearing off again. But yes, they're picking up the last divers on the extreme right, and which we've got in camera at the moment. They are being picked up. And that's the one that's got 2 engines, so it's obviously going much faster astern. That's John Branham. Captain John Branham, who has been in charge of the project from the Army point of view, from the right instance, from the design stage right up to now, has just been confirmed over the radio to him that all our divers, the Army divers and the MRT divers, are clear. So I think that's a fairly firm indication that liftoff is about to take place again.
But complete liftoff, lift out?
Yes, lift out. He's just been, in fact, confirming that to, I think, John Suddies, who's up at the controls of the crane.
Well, presumably the Prince of Wales won't stay in a boat for that, or will he?
No, I think he will probably come to the side, come to watch it. Except he may be, of course, be the first person who wants to see the complete Mary Rose come to the surface.
Yes.
And from his position, he can see far better than anyone else.
Lord Griffiths, above you. John Craven. What are they doing?
There's one last minute task taking place at the underneath side of the cradle, just directly under the keel. They were probably checking there because it looks as though an airbag got caught between the keel. Can't tell at the moment.
Colonel Chitty, what's happened there?
It would look as though the leg on the right, something has given there, and the superstructure has come down, dropped down a certain distance. Nothing irrevocable. It would appear to, it could be...
What have we got? We can see on our monitor there that something has broken over there. That's where the offending leg was cut off.
That's right. It would appear that the strop, in fact, is broken on that side. But as I look at it now, the hull is still okay. Nothing is damaged. I'm casting my eyes left, right, and otherwise. I think it looks as though it was the strop. Yes, the strop probably parted. That then would have been parted too much a load on the right-hand side. And the pin, there was a safety pin underneath it, and I think the pin in the right hand, that is the south-east corner leg, has probably dropped down as well.
Now, what about the weight of this? Surely the weight of this frame is having the effect of crushing.
Well, I'm looking awfully hard now.
I
think mercifully it is jammed before that. I think it is mercifully jammed, and I'm going up each cross beam one after the other, and none of them seem to be resting on it. The nearest one is in fact the one between the main legs on the south side, and that's
held fast?
Oh yes, the cradle is still intact and held fast. Where the leg was, yes, it's entirely held fast, because don't forget, the 4 strops, which are still intact quite obviously, they're made onto the cradle underneath, so there's no worry in the cradle. In fact, with a very little remedial work, I would suggest that it could be lifted out very simply. I think probably a delay of about 2 hours, I would have thought, but sorry, my little military mind is working overtime at the moment, and while I'm talking I'm trying to think of solutions, but there are plenty of solutions to it, I can assure you.
Now, what can we see there? Because I mean, that is bits of timber work broken?
No, I don't think it is, actually. It's very hard to see.
Yeah, well, that is the side of the hull,
yes. One piece, that's right. One bit of, in fact, the hull has broken off. Yes, that's where it's broken off from. Yes, you're right. Right, that is the bit we cannot... That is, in fact, directly amidships, and it's not major.
Is it not? It looks absolutely fearsome to me.
Yes, it looks far worse than it is. I think that one shouldn't need to be worried on that one at all. That can be remedied easily.
Right, well, let's, Peter, we'll let you take some advice now.
Okay.
And
I'll come back with a clearer
We'll
picture
come up,
for you.
yes, indeed. So let's go now to John Gilbert on Sleipner. What's your view of what's happened, John?
I think we were all standing in shocked silence when that happened, but John Adams, the senior trust diver and one of the archaeologists who knows the hull better than anybody, is looking at these pictures with me. What's happened, John?
Well, the camera is actually pointing at a frame, an outer starboard side frame, that always has been in a sprung position. It hasn't been connected to the hull, well, since the wreck went down, basically. The crack is an old one, and it was only held there by concretion. So obviously the jar has just shaken the concretion loose and it's subsided.
Is there any sign of damage? Can you see any damage looking at the pictures?
Not from this angle, but the actual curvature of the hull seems to look okay to me.
How long is it going to take to assess this situation?
Well, the engineers are just going around to look at the steelwork on the far side of that cradle, and that far leg is out of sight from here, so I can't actually see what's happening.
If the camera moves over the wreck like this, would you keep an eye on it and just tell us what you see?
The camera is looking at the moment at the cut-off section of the bow. You can see some of the through bolts and the clamps which are actually holding the structure together. Although the structure is so tight and sound at the moment that it probably doesn't need holding together. These are purely auxiliary clamps, and the clamps which are now redundant, which were wired to the ULF. The ULF is now forming no supporting function from the hull at the moment. So
what is
resting
that?
on the cradle. That is just one of the hoses for the water pumps, which, as the hull will be completely brought out of the water, is just to get the remaining water out of the belly of the ship.
Richard Harrison, that was a shock to everybody. That was a horrible shock. What do you feel?
Yes, the adrenaline's still flowing, I think, because it was a great noise and a great sudden movement, and clearly we're all very concerned to see what's actually going to come out once they've inspected it. Yes, it's one hopes that everything's all right. It looks okay visually from here, I suppose, but it will be interesting to see what the actual position is.
I don't think anybody can tell at the moment accurately what has happened to the hull. It certainly does look all right from this position. If we could look around the wreck with the cameras, John and Richard are both watching this with another diver and archaeologist, and I'll seek their opinions as we look over it. Those deck beams look all right, John?
Yeah, they do. All the timber looks sound, and of course timber is flexible to a large extent. What happened there was to do with the steel work and not the hull itself.
So we have the top part of the frame, the underwater lifting frame, which appears to have slipped to the left. She is looking very worried. Margaret Rule is looking worried. She's back on board the Sleipner now. It must have been a hideous shock for her. Wendell Lewis, the Director of Salvage and Recovery, is with her, and I will ask her in one moment or two what she thinks. And Colonel Wendell Lewis is coming into dive control now, and I have no doubt we'll need to discuss the matter seriously with Margaret Rule and with the other members of the Trust staff. Margaret, can you say a word?
I would like to be able to speak in here in confidence.
Of course, I'm live on the air, but can you tell us what you think has happened?
What has happened is that one of the legs has collapsed and the underwater lifting frame has gone down. But it is still absolutely clear of the Mary Rose. There's no load, no weight being placed on the Mary Rose. She is safe. We now have to very quickly find a way of getting that weight of the ULF secured so it doesn't collapse any further.
Understood. Thank you very much, Margaret. I think the moment has come for me to leave dive control and to allow the Mary Rose Trust staff to discuss the matter in confidence. I'm going to hand back to Bruce Parker on Todd Moore.
Yes, well, just to recap on what happened there, the lift was underway. We heard a very loud crack. The lifting frame fell a few feet, and it seemed to the layman amongst us that a crushing of the Mary Rose was about to happen. But now I've been rejoined by Colonel Peter Chitty, who's in charge of the recovery team, the salvage team. He's just made a check for himself. What's the answer?
Well, when the lifting frame was jacked down into the cradle, it was prevented from sinking lower down with some pins called safety pins, which go through the legs, and you've seen the many holes on the leg already today. I believe that the pin possibly was not quite strong enough. It was certainly strong enough to hold it if all four legs had been in position. I think there was possibly a slight strain on that leg due to the fact that we had to lash up and replace the broken leg, or the cut-off leg, to its north. And there was probably too much strain on it for that pin. The result was it sheared and it dropped down, and in fact from first sight, and it's been confirmed now, I've got my Captain John Branham out looking at it, all right, a little bit of damage has been done. It has settled yet further into the cradle, which in fact is a good thing from our point of view. And whilst I would be prepared to lift straight out now, I have suggested that we either put in temporary pins, and we're going to use something which we have on board, Togmore, some bottle screws, that thing like that, put them in, and or put a strop, but I think the bottle screws will be the answer.
So what's the effect of that? You're going to keep the lifting frame from slipping any further?
Slipping any further. I think it's probably gone as far as it can go, and I think we'll probably carry on with the lift.
I did hear a comment just now that that structure was so rigid that nothing really could happen to it.
No, I mean nothing has. A little bit of the rather weakened upper timbers up where the bowmen used to stand when they were sort of plugging missiles into each other, you know, at vast distances, or where the Welsh archers stood. That, yes, that one piece is sheared off, and there's a bit of crumbling there, but the damage is not considerable, no.
And I've got to say, I think we all had one horrific thought that this was just going to keel over and sink to the bottom of the sea again.
Well, my thought was a bit more practical. I could see my court-martial appearing at any minute, actually. In fact, I could see my sort of general writing out the instructions. No, things are okay. No problem. One's used to the odd setback. There's enough drama already without having this. I could have done without it, but it's happened.
Had you programmed into your thoughts some, shall I call them little local difficulties like this?
I'd programmed into my thoughts to try and keep under control when these things occurred.
Well, you did, yes. I can assure you.
No, we're used to this sort of thing. I think in the army things never go quite right from time to time, and okay, we improvise. And this is really the strength of being a military engineer. Yes?
Well, there's the Prince aboard Sleipner, and yes, he looks happy, and they all look quite happy. He's got a cup of tea in his hand.
I think the MRT
He's jolly lucky, isn't he?
Quite happy. They're probably saying the responsibility is up to the army, but not to worry on that one.
I think if
we can accept it.
If His Royal Highness would like to bring back a cup of tea to Togmore to both you, Colonel Pitty, and myself, we'd be very grateful, wouldn't we?
Yes. Sorry. How are we doing? Yes, that's a 50-ton hook, but I think what they would use is the smaller hooks.
Yes. Can we just look at that?
We could track up.
Hook.
We can track right up to that. I think it's got to go down on his knees. Very top.
What are they all looking at? They're looking at this leg here, Peter.
Yes, that's where in fact the pin sheared off. That's where the pin sheared off, which caused the overload on the temporary reeving that we put round on the northeast to replace the. This would have been disastrous if something like this had happened with a 4-7 going on. I'm trying to study the pit. We're looking at the underneath side of the upper jacking cap, and there you can see the 3 jacks three jacks are on top there with the rods running through them, and when you put the hydraulic fluid into them, okay, it's just like an ordinary hydraulic jack you see in a garage where it lifts your car up, but this time you've got a rod that goes through the middle on a sleeve, and you can keep moving the rod up.
That's not a hydraulic pipe broken, is it?
Yes, that could be a broken hydraulic pipe, but no, I'm not certain. Frankly, there's so much cag round underwater, and this is the first time it's come to this. I'm looking at the top, and I can see three leads leading in. Now, the three leads that are there all right. Now, whether it's the main lead leading up to the junction box, which goes to the three jacks, this I don't know. It's jolly hard, actually, on the monitor to see which it is.
I mean, it does look as though it's come adrift, doesn't it? I mean, that's in the centre of our picture now.
Yes, you're right. It does look that. But
and what would the effect of that? Would that mean you couldn't? Would that mean you couldn't?
I will actually turn round. No, I'll turn round and actually, on the eyeball net, no, it is intact. Now I can see it straight. Again, here's where the eyeball beats over the technology. Now, looking at it straight, on the extreme left-hand side, and as shown in your picture, no, we're all right on that.
It's not broken, you think?
No, there's certainly one thing there that's unbroken. What the other one is, I'm not certain. I'll just have it. Literally, give me about 2 minutes or a minute, and I'll come back with an answer.
All right, we'll send you off and
do your usual sort of professional filler-in stuff.
Well, now, Peter, I think we'd better take you on the BBC staff. He knows all the tricks of the trade. I think we could do well now to talk to John Gilbert on Sleipner, because that is where the officials of the Mary Rose Trust are, and the royal party. And as I said just now, the Prince of Wales is certainly monitoring the progress for himself, and he's taking a very active role as president of the Mary Rose Trust. John Gilbert, what's happening over there?
I have a rather extraordinary scene in front of my eyes. Wendell Lewis, Margaret Rule, Prince Charles on deck, Sir Eric Drake, Richard Harrison, Lord Malmesbury, the senior officers of the Trust, all the divers, some of the crew of Prince Charles's barge, or the Admiral Fleet's barge, all in front of me, outside dive control. And we're all of us looking, of course, all eyes are on the wreck of the Mary Rose. Nobody is looking at Prince Charles. We're all of us looking at the wreck and hoping very much that the ship is intact and undamaged, and that some means can be found to overcome this setback. Now, all the experienced people on the site are looking at the angle of the deck beams and the way that the hull lies on that cradle to ensure that no damage has been done. And if the camera can move in a little closer, I'll ask Chris Dobbs, who's one of the archaeological supervisors, to let me have his comments on the condition of the hull and the situation that now.
On BBC Two at the moment, there's live coverage of the final stages of the raising of the Mary Rose.
Replacement vessel like this, how much swell and lift it does create long after it's gone past.
Yes, I think we ought to say we're in one of the busiest shipping lanes in the country, and as you say, the ships as they've come past have slowed down. I fancy the passengers have been treating it almost as a trip round the bay and having a jolly good look, haven't they?
Oh, indeed. I mean, people yesterday had to pay whatever it was, £250 or something to go on the Brittany ferries and travel Townsend Torres, and then you see the actual thing for free. I mean, it's a jolly good deal, and I'll expect a letter from Townsend Torres with a nice hefty fee.
I don't know who's paying you for that, but still, we won't go into that.
No. But it's anyway, they've had a wonderful view on that, although it's into the rain. As in fact have all the people, and there's a lot of vessels, really quite a large fleet out, and surprising the weather.
Well, yesterday, of course, was very large, and it was a Sunday, and as to be expected, it was a nice day too. The sun was shining, it was calm, it would have been a superb lifting day. As it happens today, it's been pouring with rain non-stop since this started, and yet, as you say, there are plenty of people there watching. They've been moored for several hours, haven't they? Watching as it happens.
They have, and yes. Now the barge actually is now been manoeuvred round, and it in fact it's due east of Togmore at the moment. So that means, in fact, it's off our bow, and we have got the Mary Rose hanging off our stern. So they've now got to bring it round, the total length round, and that is probably about 15 minutes worth, I think, 20 minutes worth.
Certainly a few minutes, isn't it? This is a very slow-moving barge, as one would expect.
And it will disappear out of our sight from here fairly soon, and then reappear round to the due south of us. I'm still surprised. No, I think we've got the last one out, yes. I used an excuse, it would be nice to meet the Prince, I think, and he was very nice. He chatted to them all and thanked them for the work they'd done.
He is in the front row, as it were, of the stalls on Sleipner. There he is. He's standing with Lord Romsey. And Sam, who is the master of Sleipner. Sam is right next to him now in the lightish red orange anorak. And King Constantine there as well.
Down, and outside Lord Romsey is the Earl of Malmesbury. Lord Malmesbury, I mean, is next door to him, and then John Adams, who was is the senior supervisor on board the Mary Rose Trust diving vessel.
Well, we've been listening to John Adams talking to us this morning from Sleipner. So there, I mean, they've got the grandstand view, as you'd expect. I mean, that's Sleipner, this diving vessel, has been moored here year after year, every summer, doing the excavation. They've been diving down onto this wreck, and now suddenly today, before their very eyes, this is what they've been diving on, what they've been excavating. Because as you pointed out just now, the whole of this wreck was below the mud.
Oh, indeed, yes. And in fact, when you mentioned the grandstand view, I think one of my combat support boats and my divers have crept into the stalls unannounced. They arrived rather late, I think, for the show, and I think they've been ordered off the premises until the interval, I think.
If they're not careful, they get Maltesers thrown at them. Anyway, let's go to John Gilbert, who is on Sleipner, to see what he's got to say to us.
Well, the sight from dive control is extraordinary. To see this ship hanging on the end of a cable like that, or 4 cables I should say, encased in all its ironmongery, with the future King of England watching it, with Margaret there, looking a very happy woman after all her work on this site, and with the divers, people who've contributed so much to this, all eager to see it on its barge and safely towed home to Portsmouth. And the barge, I can now see the tug, and the tug is just off the bow of the crane barge, and that barge master, Arthur King, has done a tremendous amount for this operation. When we watched the cradle being dropped in, it was an education to see the professionalism of the tug master and of the crane master, Captain John Sellers. There she is. Still pumping out inside the boat. Making sure that the weight of water in the hull. The hull looks immensely strong. It always did underwater, but on the surface it is astonishingly strong. When the divers drilled into these timbers, these very thick timbers, 4 foot thick in many cases, or longer I think, the wood that came out after they'd gone through the surface layer was a red colour. It was like the colour of a natural oak, as if it had never been under the water. I can see from dive control from the support vessel Sleipner, we can now clearly see the barge approaching the site. There she is. And it looks, I think, a little further away in your picture than it really is. It's closer than that. It won't be long now before the Mary Rose is safely on that barge. The weight of that structure, the weight of the support cradle, the lifting frame and the Mary Rose herself exceeds 500 tons. A great load for a great crane. The barge coming in underneath it, manoeuvring slowly and carefully. And the ship, of course, for new viewers, lying on its side. This is the starboard side of a ship. And if you look to the right of the picture, you can see the keel of the Mary Rose. They're planning the museum now, which will display the Mary Rose hull and a selection of the artifacts found within her. Musical instruments, gaming pieces, the clothing of the men, their weapons, all the artifacts recovered from this site which have made it an exciting and a rewarding 3-year intensive diving program for the Mary Rose Trust, its volunteers and its professional divers. There was a period on this ship when you could swim along the main deck and find the bones of an archer or a seaman with his foot still inside his shoe and his weapon beside him, lying beside a bronze gun. It was an extraordinary sight. But this sight is yet more extraordinary. To have raised this half ship from the mud without breaking it, without fracturing it. It's an achievement. Dropped now, if anything. Certainly the storm that we thought we saw has not arrived. It looks like a toy. It looks very much like the model that we've used to demonstrate on this program. But that's the real thing. A Tudor ship that sank in 1545 with the king watching. Henry VIII saw this ship as it went down. As the Mary Rose went into battle, the captain was Sir George Carew. Lord Lisle, the High Admiral of England, had dined on board the ship. Legend has always said it was the night before that he dined on board. There's the barge, still manoeuvring for position. As the barge has snagged on a mooring cable which must be one of Togmore's anchor cables. That's an awkward situation for the two seamen concerned, Arthur King on the barge, John Suddies on the Togmore. I'm going to hand over to Bruce Parker on Togmore.
Well, we are overlooking the barge arriving here at Togmore, and she has just come onto Togmore's mooring cable. Why is that, Peter Chitty?
I wish I knew. I think it's crazy. In blunt terms, I mean, we've come so far, and if suddenly the mooring line goes, now I think they probably just did not see that there. It's out at anchor, and so there's no buoy to give it guidance, and I think when you've got something that length and that weight swinging, there's very little you can do to rectify, but mercifully it does look as though it's a very shallow draft, and it hasn't really, it's virtually free now, slight relief. The wire would have taken quite a strain, in fact.
Because the last thing we want at the moment is for Togmore to drift loose.
Yes, I mean, what do you do with this thing hanging in space? Take it to West Africa or something, where the next contract is with...
That is indeed where Togmore goes tonight. She leaves. She's become almost part of the scenery here. She leaves the waters here off to fulfill a contract, as you say, in West Africa.
Just as you sort of started this and asked me some questions, I was busy trying to work out how we were going to get our equipment off this barge in time. So it is leaving that fast. I think it's Monday morning at the latest.
No, you've lost a day. We're Monday already.
Right, Monday night then. You're right. You're right. Midnight, yes.
Now this is Colonel Wendell Lewis has just come onto the scene. How are things going? He's the salvage director of the Mary Rose Trust. You're happy with what you see?
Extremely happy, yes. It's a wonderful sight, and I'm just checking on the position of the, or rather the attitude that the barge is coming in, because the next thing we've got to think about, of course, is the attitude of the load when it gets into Portsmouth Harbour, so that we can take it off and put it in the dry dock the right way round.
Yes. How long will this stay on the barge, Colonel Lewis?
Well, it's impossible to tell. We've got work to do in the harbour in Portsmouth in preparation for going into the basin and then into the dry dock. It's impossible to say how many days. We'll be doing it just as quickly as we can.
You must have been a worried man. I've not spoken to you this morning, a worried man when that crunch happened. Where were you?
Well, in fact, I was on the support boat with
Sleipner?
No, oh. I was actually on the support boat with the party of very distinguished visitors.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Yes, you were with Prince of Wales.
Yes, indeed. Yes, and you can imagine how we all felt when the incident occurred. And I think that we were extremely fortunate in the way that the hull was prevented from being damaged by the underwater lifting frame missing some of the timbers.
Yes, what were your worst fears at that moment?
Well, until I opened my eyes, I didn't know quite what to think.
So this is a delicate sort of operation, isn't it? Getting this very, very large barge into exactly the right position. We've got tugs pushing her into position.
Yes,
this is a civilian tug, is it?
Yeah.
With Peter, are these your army support vessels as well?
No, these are Alexandra towing, and in fact, I take this quick opportunity to refute something that Captain John Branham made an inadvertent slip, I think, under pressure this morning, and he said that the rigging for this lift had been carried out by Alexandra Towing. In fact, he meant the towing had been carried out with them, but of course the rigging was naturally carried out by Howard Dorris's excellent team of riggers and fitters.
And this barge itself has come from across the North Sea?
That's right, yes. It happened to have the right shape and size and all the various characteristics for the purposes that we needed. It, in fact, is being positioned by probably one of the most capable of our barge masters, Arthur King of Alexandra Towing, and he at the moment, as you can see, is gently easing it in with his usual cool, calm competence.
Well, we can see him. He's got the bright orange, I think we can see him, bright orange jacket and yellow hat. He's got 2 radio sets in his hand. Well, 1 in each hand, I should say. And he is the man, there he is, he's the man who's controlling things.
Well, if you'll forgive me, I must get away.
Yes, you're a very busy man. Thank you very much, Colonel Wendell Lewis.
I'm still apprehensive about that that mooring line that's out there.
Well, where's it gone? It's below,
underneath.
It's
And
below the barge.
And the angle is, in fact, is increasing, I'm afraid. But it should slip off fairly soon if they pay out on one as it slides around. I just hope it doesn't knife through it. To come this far, with all the mishaps and the ups and downs we've had, and then suddenly for some other thing to cause a problem, would really not be infuriating. It would be just too miserable.
I'm looking at the windsock on the helipad here, which is fairly well stretched out.
Yes, we're
4, aren't we? Yes.
Yes.
But that's no problem, force 4.
No, the stability, all the stabilities were worked out again through Southampton University using their computers, and it was all...
Not without a hitch. Hello again. King Henry VIII's warship, the Mary Rose, is above water again for the first time for 437 years. The scheme to rescue her from the seabed, which has cost £4 million and taken years of planning, ended in triumph today. But there was a moment of drama when the giant lifting frame tilted with a great crash, but the Mary Rose seemed to be all right. The Tudor warship sank in 1545 on her way to do battle with the French. Henry VIII was amongst the last people to see her until today. Her grave was the mud of the Solent between Portsmouth and the Isle of Wight, 13 metres below the waves. Prince Charles, who's president of the Mary Rose Trust, was at the scene early this morning to join all the experts on this momentous day. And ever so slowly, and wrapped in her mighty steel cradle, the Mary Rose broke the surface, just a few of her timbers at first, but enough to be saluted by cannon fire from the shore. As the hulk was lifted above the water, everyone could see the remains of the warship that sank so long ago with the loss of 700 lives. Everything was going remarkably well when suddenly this happened. The lifting frame tilted and the Mary Rose crashed deeper into the cradle. One of the supporting cables snapped, but luckily the ship didn't seem to be damaged. Prince Charles confessed that he'd been slightly horrified, but he thought the best thing to do was not to panic. And the massive crane continued to lift her high above the waves. The barge that was taking her ashore maneuvered itself underneath the towering shape of the crane. And finally, after many minutes of skillful positioning, the cradle holding the Mary Rose was safely aboard the barge. It was a time of great pride and relief for the team who'd brought her from the grave. There'd been many setbacks, the latest only yesterday when the operation had to be delayed. But now the Mary Rose is safe and dry after 4 centuries beneath the sea. And you can see much more about the raising of the Mary Rose in just a few minutes. Sarah Green is down at the scene and she'll be reporting on Blue Peter. A man armed with